So there I was, man, exploring the ancient caves of Helianor in search of the ancient tomes of power or some shit, right? Wouldn't you fucking know it? I came across a big ass chasm that looked bottomless. I'd already cast my levitate spell earlier, so there was no shortcut to the next path for me over the chasm. I figured since I needed to rest to recharge my spells and shit, I'd get out my wizard sticks and take a trip across the universe to pass the time. Mysticism or whatever. No sooner did I lay down my backpack that I felt an earth-shaking rumble emanating from the chasm. I didn't think too much of it since I was down on my mana reserves and attributed the shaking to my own body's weakness. Wizards always get the magic shakes when they've cast most of their spells. That was pretty much a sign from the universe that it was as good as a time as any to slonk this fat doink. I'd been saving last one till I got home. I'm not a conjurer. Can't make this stuff from thin air, you know. They kicked me out of wizardry school when they found out I was trying to conjure what I called battle crystals. Apparently, methamphetamines are a big no-no in their eyes. We'll see who's laughing when I'm all hopped up on my battle crystals, breaking my spellcasting limits for the day, just scorching things after finding this ancient tome. Oh, speaking of scorching, well, it was right then I had my wizard stick ready, lifted my fingers to the tip, chanted my fireball spell, and fucking nothing, man. I was spent. I figured this rest was going to suck. No cool galaxies to see, no ancient wizards imparting their wisdom unto me, not even a way to stop that infernal shaking that was getting worse because I was so tired. It was right about then when I realized the cave had become way more magically attuned, but this wasn't human magic, this was ancient magic, the kind of magic they talked about never coming into contact with, lest you want to have your body explode with energies beyond anything you had ever experienced, and even the most intense spellcasting training they could put you through. I was shook, both figuratively and literally. Every second I felt my body pulse with energy. I knew what this was. A fucking dragon. Those assholes were given all the powers in the universe without any way to focus it. Or so I was led to believe. Knights would have you believe that they can handle dragons because their strength and magically enchanted armor. Nah, they're all just made magically deaf before they fight a dragon, so their mind isn't susceptible to the extra energies at play. Lucky bastards. That's why I have my wizard sticks shut down the extra sounds so I can focus. Focus was the last thing I could do at that moment, though. All of a sudden, the magic that had flooded the cave materialized into a gray fog that stunk of decay. With that limited light I had inside the cave, I could only make out the menacing shape of the dragon's maw. He inched ever closer to me, the magic breaking the stillness that surrounded me. My mind was filled with words and phrases that were spoken by tongues long past. Knowledge beyond my comprehension had been shown to me. While I sat there in a magic-induced stupor, the dragon cranked his neck down to my face to study me. He was fucking huge, biggest damn dragon I've ever seen, which, albeit I've never been around one, but even then, I can't imagine something much bigger. As he breathed all over my face, I could feel him start snorting in the air. The same time, it's been a few weeks, but I didn't think I'd smelled that bad. That's when it struck me. He wanted to get higher than the stratosphere. He was confined to another jolt to my brain, and I knew what was about to go down. My name is Corvorox. The wind and I need to make some clouds if you catch my drift. I told him I was totally down to smoke him out with my specially made wizard sticks, but I don't know if I had enough. When what he told me next was the sickest thing I've ever heard. All he needed was the original material, and can make enough for both of us. Unlike myself, he was a master conjurer. I told him that he probably graduated top of his class in Dragon College with that kind of power. He told me that there wasn't a Dragon College when he was harnessing his power, and that he actually invented conjuration himself. That was the ancient scrolls in the cave were about. They're all his studies how to properly conjure up things things. It was about that time when he asked me for my wizard weed. I handed him a fat roll I had made, and he watched as he took the razor-like talon down the wrapper, opening it with the kind of surgical precision that was only afforded to the most talented of surgeons. When he finished opening up the roll, he dumped it on the ground to more closely examine it, pulling in his head close to the edge of the chasm. I could see his piercing gaze intensely study the sticky icky I brought before him. I was worried that he would obliterate me for it being low quality to him anyway. Think about the sick-ass strains he probably been able to try. Thinking more on that subject, I wondered why he needed my stuff if he could make his own. I started to get a bit suspicious of his actions, thinking he was going to steal my shit. Forgetting he was still able to read my thoughts, he assured me that he was going to pull through for both of us. As soon as the dragon finished examining what I brought, he began a chant. Since he was speaking in a language unbeknownst to me, it was just loud guttural sounds, even to my trained ears. Man, I wish I could have understood him, because I'd be slinging shit all around the kingdom and terrestrial planes. I wouldn't just be a wizard, I'd be the fucking weedzard. Anyways, after all the deafening sounds, a portal appeared. It was a plane I'd never seen before, but this air is unmistakable. A field of marijuana. It was that primo quality, diamond-encrusted emerald green weed. It was pungent enough that even a man who lost his nose would say, "Whoa, that stuff stinks." This stuff was stickier than glue made from horse hooves that were trapped in a tar. In other words, perfect. With lightning quick speed, Cornivorox snatched out a plant and fire cured it with haste. I knew my stuff was good, but I had to ask him how he was able to make something even better if he needed my stuff as a base. He told me that's the thing, it's a base. I'm not copying, I'm creating. What good would these magics be if I were just a lowly counterfeiter? He had a good point, and who was I to look a magical ancient conjurer dragon in his mouth and insult his craft, a stupid deaf knight who's about to gain? No, I'm a wizard, and I was about to transcend the next level with a fucking dragon. The anticipation was making my mana shake. So much worse, I was fiending for that first hit of gaseous relaxation. Pulling out my smoking stick, Cornrox crushed a bud in his claws, grinding it into the finest powder I've ever encountered. It was reminiscent of the time I smoked with the wood elves in Lagonia, farmed from their agricultural powers. Those guys, for all of their ritual and earthly respect, sure as shit could grow weed with the best of them. After packing up my piece, I knew it was only right I gave this dragon the honor of hitting it first. How long had it been since he was able to create fat clouds? As I landed him the pipe, he grasped it with his claws and he gave me a knowing look. I took a step back as he held up the pipe and let out the coolest looking breath of fire I've ever seen. Colors of all sorts came out of his mouth. Even not being high yet, I was awestruck at the display of fire control prowess. I was going to ask him to teach me how to make my fireballs do that. Before I was even able to open my mouth, the opening of the pipe ignited a glorious spark, lightning the whole thing evenly, even a direct flame. I couldn't do that. That fucking dragon was something else. As quickly as the weed was lit, Corvinox took the biggest hit he could possibly cleared. As soon as the weed was hit, Corvinox took the biggest hit he could. He basically cleared the entire bowl by himself. There was just enough left for me to take a puff myself. Warily, the dragon handed me the pipe. He told me to be careful through gritted teeth, holding in the smoke for as long as possible. I brought the pipe to my mouth and started to inhale. Not even a second in, Corvinox let loose his smoke in the thickest cloud I've ever seen. It was coming right at me with speeds beyond my comprehension, knocking me off my feet. I fell backwards, enveloped by the smoke, inhaling it alongside the hit that was left in my pipe. Holy shit, man. Fucking holy shit. There must have been some real fucking ancient dragon magic in that impromptu hotbox he gave me, because I think I was able to fly even after all these years of magic study. I wasn't ready for the incomprehensible things that were shown. Colors that weren't real, sounds that were as clear as crystal but completely unintelligible, tastes that made me never want to eat anything else ever again, only because I'll be sad that the flavors in this world will never be as good. An absolute feeling of unimaginable euphoria, like being loved by everything in the world all at once and being accepted for all your flaws. I knew everything and nothing all at once, and just as I was about to understand it all, I coughed and broke my concentration. I came hurtling back to the ground, my drug-induced high completely unable to move at all. My breathing became labored and every muscle in my body started twitching. I wondered if that was the end. All around me, I could only see smoke and hear the laughter of a dragon. That motherfucker just flapped there in the sky, unfazed in my confusion. I tried rolling over and heard a horrifying crunch. Worried I'd broken my arm, I stood up and looked about. Thankfully, my arms and hands and legs were all intact. The only casualty of my panic was my smoking pipe. The ash and what I looked like years of resin built up was shown to me, but I cleaned my pipe yesterday. The weed that dragon gave me was potent and dense as hell. Saddened by my turn of events, I sat down to mourn my fallen soldier that had been with me what felt like an eternity. I picked it up and showed the dragon what happened, hoping that he might be able to fix it with his magic. Sure, it may not have been the exact same piece, but how many other people can say they were given a pipe from a dragon? I'm sorry, little wizard, but I can only make things anew. What if we had another smoke session while I have the portal open to help you forget what happened? I was a little upset that he had such a little care about my peace, but really, I don't even think an angel would have been able to turn down another hit of that magical weed. I stood up and told him I was ready to blast off again, but asked him to give me a little more warning if he was going to hotbox me again. Although he did leave us with a problem, we were able to smoke with my peace. Although that did leave us with a problem. What were we going to smoke? With my piece gone, and I didn't think I could fit my mouth around a dragon-sized bong. Even with telekinesis magic, I wouldn't have been able to lift the stem, so that was a no-go. Corvinox just smiled and darted off deep into the chasm, flapping his wings rapidly, but going nowhere. Was I still stoned into oblivion? I sat down and pondered my predestinate, and just said, fuck it, my body was already feeling great, and I'll be able to get some great rest. As I was setting up camp for the night, the dragon came back with the biggest rolling paper I've ever seen. It had some real funky designs on it. I could barely make out. As he was approaching the ledge again, another portal opened to the weed dimension, and was more pulled out for round 2. My brain started wandering, taking in everything that happened, and was hoping I could catch that dragon high again. While he was tearing the paper to roll a joint, he asked me why I was there. I told him that I was a traveler searching for the coolest places to smoke weed at, and I also told him that this was the most certainly the best. With another grandiose display, the joint was lit, and he offered me the first hit. This time, I politely declined, saying that he did all the work, he deserves to enjoy it. Plus, I was still stoned as shit and needed another minute to get my wits about me for the next mystical journey. While he was hitting the joint, I picked up my backpack to prepare for my exit. I didn't want to overstay my welcome, and I had to go find some food and drink that was giving me the munchies, something fierce. When I finished packing up, I saw Corvinax puffing out smoke rings and flying through them as if he had the best time, and I'd like to think that we became good friends. That day, after slonking some fat doinks together, he told me a few jokes that only a dragon would get. but I still laughed my ass off at him. When he finished puffing, he handed me a joint to take my turn. I gathered up all my fortitude and took an epic hit that would make a blue whale jealous of my lung capacity. Every second of my inhale brought me closer to Nirvana. Even the dragon was impressed. Next thing I knew, I found myself outside the cave with my bag and no recollection of how I got there. I opened my pack and I guess what was there? A new dragon-shaped pipe that looked similar to Corvinox and another joint. That's when I took the time to really examine the paper. That fucking dragon, he fucking got me so good. I guess now I'll never learn the mysteries of conjuration since I smoked half the scroll with the dragon that wrote it and have the other half already to be smoked. And that's the story of the time I was slocking fat doinks with the fucking dragon.